Hello, my name is Blue. Before we get started, I just want to preface this with a big trigger warning. I will be talking about sexual assault, abuse, mental health issues, and homophobia. What even is my debut poetry collection? It's called Is It Bad If My Gums Bleed When I Floss? It is 32 poems that I started writing when I was 17, and I finished writing just after I turned 19. The 32 poems is very fitting for the teeth theme. If you've read it, or if you decide to read it after watching this video, in which case I would love you, it's available everywhere books are sold, then you'll notice that the table of contents is actually the permanent dentition, which was my publisher's idea, and I absolutely love that. It's one of my favorite parts about this, apart from the cover, which was created by Mitch. So I stuck with a teeth theme throughout this collection, following a character named Natalie. We open with her as a child struggling with her queer identity when she develops a crush on a girl. We follow her as she goes to college and decides to pursue dentistry and eventually enters into an unethical and unhealthy relationship with her dental professor. Her dental professor ends up abusing her. Many of the poems in this collection explore that abuse with mild gore and body horror. She then graduates, which allows her to escape from that environment, and after experiencing everything that she did, she reconnects with the girl she had a crush on in high school and finally learns to accept herself. So in many ways, this version of events is much worse than what really happened, but in many other ways, it's also a version that I thought was more palatable and easy for any potential readers to swallow. 2 years after writing it, I'm 21 years old. I'm obviously more comfortable with talking about these events as they actually happened. So I'm just gonna give you the real version of events, but I'll try to keep it like just straightforward. Emotional support coffee. Emotional support pizza. Let's get started. So I grew up in a very Christian, conservative household. My father was a preacher. I was like 9 or 10 when I realized that I was very different in like a bad way. For me, that's how I saw it. I had a crush on a girl and we kissed once. And I spent years trying to understand that, so I could stop it. My mindset going into like my preteen and teenage years was that if I couldn't stop myself, I didn't want to be alive. I didn't want to know what it felt like to be happy committing this kind of sin, and I was afraid that one day I would meet somebody who would make me forget about how wrong it was. I had a lot of struggles with suicidal thoughts and depression, and I entered therapy for that when I was like 13 or 14. And then, of course, I met a girl, and it was puppy love, and it only lasted like 2 months or something, but I still really struggled with my sexuality during all of that. At that time, I was living in another country, and when I moved to the United States, I broke up, or she broke up with me. I did not break up with her, she broke up with me. And that was when everything went downhill. I started high school in the United States and met the worst person I've ever met. He was a year older than me, and it was like everybody loved him, or at least that was what I thought when I became friends with him. I don't know, I told him that I liked girls, and he was fine with that. One day he told me, if you want to try being straight, I'm here. And I was 14 and just wanting to make my parents proud of me. I had tried to come out to them, and it went very poorly. And I think I really did like him, like as much as I could at the time. So I started dating him, and he wanted it to be a secret for a while, which is like huge red flag. So many red flags that they just went right over my head. He told me that everything was at my pace, only if I wanted to do it. And I think that was true for like a month. I had a miscarriage when I was 15, and he told me he'd considered beating me until I miscarried if it hadn't happened naturally. He didn't believe in abortion. Out of everything, I still have nightmares about that very specific shame and humiliation. It really got into my head. It completely severed my mind from my body. It felt like my body wasn't even mine, and that it was only good for one thing. So pain, exhaustion, sadness, none of it mattered until it mattered to him, until he let it matter. And that was something I really struggled with then, and I'm still struggling with now. But at the time, I thought I deserved it. I thought it was better than being gay. And my parents seemed relieved that I was with him and that he seemed so serious about me, because he, on the outside, even to me, sometimes I thought he was like perfect, like I was gonna marry him. We were gonna have 3 kids and live in a house with 2,500 feet and an acre of land, and I would never have to work or learn how to drive or order at restaurants for myself or pick out my own outfits, cut my hair. Hilariously, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was after I moved states, right before COVID hit, and when we were dating long distance. My parents bought me a kitten, but my ex hated that cat. I was like, well, I can't be with a guy who hates animals. This all brings me to my junior year of high school, when I started writing poetry to cope with all of this. So I wrote my first poem that would end up in this collection when I was 17. I'll go ahead and read it for you now. Inadequate. It starts on the edges of my lips, where I was just kissed, creeps in till it reaches my cheap tongue and snatches syllables against my teeth. I give it 2 sounds, those Germanic things expressing that universal feeling that I will never be enough. That space where tongue meets the back of teeth, protoplasmic kisses, is where I will plunder and ravage and loot all the secrets I once spoke, all I never let be. I let it crawl along my gums, pull back the tissue, roots torn wide, and ease down my throat, mucus that creeps, leaving canals of strep and dysphagia in its wake. And just when I start to gag, it'll puncture and probe my soft esophagus to find a vessel where it can settle and rot me from the inside out. I let it in, opened my mouth to speak, revealed what made me weak, when I should have kept my pretty little lips sealed. When I was 18 years old, I attended a writing workshop, and my poetry teacher gave us a prompt to write a poem about the part of our body that we liked the most. And at the time I was still really, really struggling with what had happened and feeling connected to my body. It's because I had been isolated and alone for like a year and a half-ish because of COVID, and I hadn't told anybody. So the only thing I could think to write about in response to that writing prompt was my teeth. It felt really neutral, and this is the poem that came out of that. Milk. 20 deciduous teeth, and no trace of the scar where they took a knife to the 21st. Milk teeth came and went, just like that, until one day my dentist told me my permanent ones were pretty. They've grown into the smiling kind, the type to spill a secret, lie like it's the truth. And they make a pleasing silhouette. They like to be admired, all grown up now, even with wisdoms not yet erupted, not like that 21st milk tooth. Now I flash smiles and smile like second nature, but I bite when it comes down to the no, wait, that is always heard but never felt, quite like the throb of bone sinking into skin. That is the first half of that poem. The second half I added after writing more of this collection and deciding that it was going to be a story about Natalie going into dental school and entering in this unhealthy relationship with her professor. Because of that poem, I discovered that I loved writing about teeth. It healed some part of me, and so I kept writing about teeth, and I kept writing about teeth, and I ended up with, is it bad if my gums bleed when I floss? I'd been a fan of Curious Corvid Publishing for a few months before, like, when I was, like, writing this, I'd been a fan. Specifically because of Lady of the House by Grace R. Reynolds, which I 100,000% recommend. So one day I saw that Curious Corvid had opened submissions for poetry collections, and I had a poetry collection, so I sent it in, and then one day I got an email from Curious Corvid saying that they wanted to sign a book deal with me, and so it kind of just happened. I wasn't planning on it. Sorry, that the glare of my laptop and my script right here. I actually have a script this time instead of just rambling off the top of my head, because I felt like this was like a sensitive subject, so I better do it well. But anyways, this collection would not have been possible without Curious Corvid Publishing, and without Ravven White, without Mitch Green, who did this beautiful cover. And they would also not be possible without two of my really good friends, Christine Danse and Corinne Young. They are also writers, and they were at the time some of the only people that I trusted with what happened to me. And they told me that I should 100% submit these poems. I'm really glad that I did. I've really tried to take it seriously and do something with it. The sun is setting now, and I'm saying all of this because if any part of my story resonates with any part of your story, then I hope you will give my collection a chance, and I hope that it will be healing in some way, the same way that poetry has been healing for me writing it. Thank you for watching.